You have now tapped in with the introspective father and son duo. Last name may be strange, but never strangers to the game. Adjust the listening devices and keep it live.
Coming in, flex. I just wanna win, LABB, who we running with, 2233, I'm on 10 again, state your name.
Hello, and welcome to another installment of No Stranger to the Game. I'm Ja, that's Troy, and today, as you can see, we have a special guest. He goes by the name of Paul Turner. Paul is someone that grew up in the same area I did, Southern California. I knew him as a young kid. He went to the same high school as my older sister, and he was just always a figure around. But until I got to high school, when I got to high school, he became my track coach. One of the first people to kind of introduce me to triple jump and really teach me a lot about it. And even though we didn't spend a ton of time together, we had a short period of time. He became like a big brother to me, the big brother I always wanted. Sorry to my older sister, but I did want an older brother. And so without further ado, man, that's Paul Turner. He now lives in Austin, Texas, raising a family. And you're the director of the Boys and Girls Club out there, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep. Yeah, great member of our community, man. We thought it'd be a great idea to have him on the show today. Dad, any extra introduction that Paul needs, man? I know I left something out.
No, Paul is just a great dude. You know, over the years, kind of helped mentor him in some of the endeavors, giving advice, and he's always been very respectful, always positive, always enjoyed having conversations and reaching out to him and watching his evolution as a young man, going from high school to college and now raising his own family. So it's really encouraging, and it's a blessing to be able to have this conversation with him and just chop it up. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Paul, any intro remarks? Are you ready to get into it?
I mean, first of all, appreciate it. You know, Ja, you left out the secret sauce part, man. You know, I did get the sauce with triple jump. Nah, man, to be honest, though, I really appreciate y'all offering me this opportunity. All of y'all played a huge role in just who I am as a man today. So, man, it's an honor to be here. So I'm ready to get it going. Appreciate y'all.
Cool.
All right.
So to get us started today, I thought, one common ground we all share is we was collegiate athletes. To run down just a small portion of Paul's accomplishments, he was a national champion in the long jump, national qualifier in the triple jump, probably countless school records and conference titles at University of Laverne, where he graduated. That's just a small little intro. I don't know all his accomplishments, but it's a long list of them. And so, like he said, in his words, he gave me the sauce in triple jump. I don't know if I go that far, but he did teach me a lot about the event, a lot about the sport. One of my, earliest coaches that kind of really helped me get started in this game, and I appreciate that. But we want to talk about your experience. I think me and my dad have talked at great length about our experiences as collegiate athletes. But in your own words, what was it like to be a collegiate athlete at the University of Laverne?
Yeah, it was a little, it was shell shock, you know what I mean, at first, because, college really wasn't something that was in my, purview or my, longitudinal goals up until I want to say the end of my junior year, like competing in college. It wasn't until I got a call from Laverne around the end of my junior year where they, they're asking about, my measurements and how far I was jumping that I thought it was a reality. So when I got to Laverne, it was kind of like, it was a lot different, eating a certain diet, waking up. I mean, you know this because you top-notch athletes, same with you, Mr. Strange. Having to wake up at 5 a.m, hit the weight room, making sure your schedule was kind of revolved around practice and track meets. All that stuff kind of took some getting used to, but I think a lot of that stuff actually helped me a lot along the way in terms of like my life, being disciplined, being a father, and all other facets. So it was a shell shock at first, but I think it was awesome, and it taught me a lot.
Let me ask a quick follow-up question on that. What do you remember the most? What was your most memorable college experience as an athlete?
It's gonna be my freshman year. I was ranked, I want to say, top 3 in triple jump in Division III, and like top 5 or something in long jump. And I went to the national track meet. It was in Ohio or some small Christian school. And according to those rankings, I'm supposed to be All-American as a freshman. And I wet the bed, man. I went out there, got dead last long, dead last and triple. Man, I was on that plane ride quiet, listening to Drake. I didn't know what to do, man. But honestly, that memory, man, that motivated me because I was like, you know what? There's either I'm gonna stay down this route, kind of just, I got top 3. I was sitting on, my cloud 9. I could stay on this route, or I could keep trying to get it. So I made a decision then on the plane ride back that I'm gonna try to maximize and optimize my time there as an athlete.
Good stuff.
It's funny you say that. 2 things caught my eye in what you were just talking about. I know I'm one of those people that I wouldn't say I dwell on my failures, but they definitely use them as fuel for motivation. And so the times that I'm successful are cool, but I oftentimes just kind of push those to the side. It's when I like you said, wet the bed, and I'm like, no, that's where I can't go back to that. It's like what is it Jordan that said, I like winning, but I hate losing more than I like winning.
Right.
And so that's always stuck with me. But 2, I remember you saying how it didn't feel like a reality that you could be a collegiate athlete when you were in high school and stuff like that. And I remember the conversation we had very vividly my senior year, where it was like, I had a couple schools calling, but none of the bigger names and all of that. And I was like, at a point where I was like, well, maybe I should just go be a student. And you told me, like, dude, you got a talent for this. You could do this. You could do this at the highest level. You know what I mean? I think you need to start looking at that as an option. And I was like, well, he done been there, so I guess he may know something. And I know my dad had told me that, but you know how it is, man. You don't listen to him, man. It's got to be somebody outside of that your household, and so I really appreciated that, man. And here we are, man. I guess you manifested it for me.
Hey, nah, man, that was all you, brother. I mean, I remember those conversations too. And just so people know, the listeners know, those conversations was happening at 5 a.m. on a conveyor belt for a runway down the track. So, I mean, I remember reaching out to ASU, Baylor, all these different schools, and they weren't getting back to me. But I'm pretty sure they wish they got back to me now. You know what I'm saying? And that's all you, man. You know what I'm saying? That's all you, brother. So I'm just happy to be part of that ride.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Speaking of that conveyor belt, I think did my dad send you the videos of the new track they got out there, man?
He didn't, man, but Coach Lyons did.
Oh, really?
Like, man, he was like, if Ja and Fasio had this, it would have been a problem. And I was like, I concur. Man, that thing looked beautiful.
It was nice. That's a nice track. I think they need to name that little jump pit area after me, but that's another conversation I guess we'll have to have. I want to jump over into our childhoods because, once again, that's another thing we kind of all share in common is we grew up, I guess, in the same area. And I know you bounced around from Riverside down to the Valley and, other places. But, for the most part, we all know what it's like to grow up in the Valley and to be, a youth out there. And once again, me and my dad have talked about those experiences tons. But what was it like for you being a kid in the Valley? I know you had two brothers and a sister. Your mom, I know your family very well. And so just tell us what it was like to grow up with all your family and everything down there.
Yeah, man. I mean, one thing I learned, I think I still carry on to this day is that in the Valley, what the Valley specifically and explicitly taught me was that family isn't just those that, had to share the same blood type as you. So going to First AME Church, playing on the Jungle Gym with my cousins like Richard, Jim, James Lockhart, shout out to y'all, Theo, Cookie, you know what I'm saying? Like seeing Mr. Strange, at church, and you know what I mean, if you was acting up at church, Miss Pope might grab you by your ear, Bob, you know what I'm saying? Like that taught me at a young age that family isn't just the people that share your blood type, you know what I'm saying? So I still carry that with me, man. Like even when I'm here dealing with my youth here at the Boys and Girls Club, you know what I mean? I try to develop that familial aspect, and I think that goes a long way in developing rapport and mentoring these youth. So that right there is huge, man. I feel like it's something I taken away and still use in my everyday dealings. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's one of my takeaways from growing up in the desert, especially growing up on Nairobi, where everyone literally was my family over there. So you can walk down the street and you was related to just about everybody. Even if you wasn't, you was related by a distant cousin or uncle married to somebody. And so we were all connected, and you couldn't get away with anything. If you did something, you thought you got away with it, wait till you got home. So everybody saw you, and if they got a chance to put hands on you, they would. So you're definitely right that it didn't necessarily have to be the bloodline to be family, and that's one of the things, you know, I miss, you know, growing up in that way and having that community in which we did back in the day. So I can definitely concur with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I was gonna let my bad job. I was gonna let you say that about getting snatched up. You know what I mean? I've been snatched up plenty of times by people that were not blood. So I was gonna let you say that. That's definitely true.
Yeah, I know. For me, I mean, it was weird growing up. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's the only experience I had. I didn't grow up anywhere else, but I remember just going out. We'd be anywhere, man. And next thing I knew, my dad was talking to somebody, and it was like, dude, how do you know them? Oh, that's your cousin. And I'm like, man, we have never met this dude before. And it was just, I think it's cool. It's interesting to grow up in a small town like that because you get that feel of like everybody's kind of family around, and it takes a little bit of the nerve away of being out in public or being out, because the likelihood is you're going to run into somebody you know, and it's going to start a conversation, and you might make a friend out of it. You never know. So that was always dope to me about growing up in the Valley. But one thing I think I've always found interesting about the Valley, and this is something that I think we can all give an interesting perspective on, is it's very small. And so a lot of people get stuck, and a lot of people don't necessarily dream bigger than, you know, leaving that place. You know what I mean? I call it the big dust bowl. And a lot of people just, they don't get out for whatever reason. And I think mainly it's because they don't see much different. So for you, Paul, growing up, what was your aspirations? What did you look at and say, that's what I'm dreaming for. That's what I'm dreaming about?
Yeah, no doubt, man. I can agree with that to a certain extent. I mean, to be honest, I mean, the fact that my mom was crazy and didn't like staying in one place, Mr. Strange, no. I love my mom. I'm wrong.
That's my girl, Stacy, my girl, man. You can't talk bad about Stacy, man. That's my girl.
Hey, she tell you if she was here, she's like, yep. But the simple fact that she couldn't settle, man, like she always wanted she always aspired and dreamed bigger than her current situation. That allowed me to dream big. I may not have actually knew where I was headed, but I always knew that there was something bigger and better for me. One thing that I always wanted to do, of course, was produce music. My mom's always surrounded us with music. You know what I mean? Timberland was my favorite producer. I remember her playing the A and B side of a cassette tape with, you know what I mean, Magoo and Missy Elliott and them. So that was my biggest aspiration. Also, being a club kid, I always wanted to run my own club, you know, see my uncles and seeing Mr. Strange and others at the Boys and Girls Club. I always wanted to run my own club and give back in some facet. So those are my biggest aspirations.
That's good stuff, man.
Yeah, moving on. I mean, it's funny you brought up your uncles, man. And I know for you two guys, you know what I mean, not having your fathers in your lives, I'm just wondering who were those father figures and those people around you that really inspired you guys to do better, be better, and become something bigger than yourself. I know, Paul, you mentioned your uncles, and I can imagine those are probably some of your biggest influences, but there probably was a few more around as well.
I don't know, Mr. Strange, I know you want to take that one first.
Yeah, I'll take it. Largely for me, it was the club, and it was anybody who was probably anywhere from 2 or 3 years older than me to 20 years older than me. So older cousins to uncles, Dave Eisen, Jim Ducat, you know, Quentin and Tony Regans. So a lot of people that, you know, were a few years older than me, I watched them, you know, they always looked out for me. Made sure that, you know, I wasn't getting into anything, and at the same time kept, you know, people from bothering me. You know, they would kind of try to push me around a little bit, but overall they always kept an eye on me and made sure I was good. So it was a multitude of people, and largely the club, the boys club, which was at that time the boys club, where you just kind of dealt with and interacted with so many different people. And it was just an interesting experience. I mean, from the Clarence Browns to Peppy. I mean, we had some characters over there who, you know, they helped me grow up. They helped me deal with people that I didn't always see things eye to eye, who I may not understood, and they were just different, but I understand how to navigate around a variety of people from all walks of life. And so that was very helpful for me. Like I said, uncles and cousins, but, you know, the club was pretty instrumental in my development. There wasn't one single man that I would say, but it was a team effort of men that came into my life at different points in times when I needed them.
For me, I mean, it was like I had like this. I know y'all seen Black Panther, but it was like a council of black dudes that were just superhuman. Like, yeah, Mr. Strange, who went off to college, got his degree, and then went and got his master's. College athlete. That had Coach Thomas, who was my track coach. Then I had my uncles. Both of them went off to do fantastic things. Uncle Tone, shout out to them. And I had my Uncle John up at Riverside. You know, he was doing fantastic things. And then they just were around. And Coach Gervin, you know what I'm saying, in high school, it's just like they kind of fell in my lap. I didn't do much. I just kind of went to Indio High School, and all these people kind of fell into my purview. And then they kind of guided me. They took it upon themselves to guide me, to mold me, to you know, correct me when I was, you know, in the wrong. And it worked out, man. Like, so that kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier about, you know, sometimes, you know, family not being just those that share the same blood type as you. And I saw that all throughout high school and then beyond that too. You know what I'm saying? But I do have a question for you, Ja. We ain't talked in a minute, and I finally got your attention. You did ask about aspirations, man. What's your aspirations, brother? I mean, you jump in. I mean, we can go down the list of your accolades and what you've done from Sac State. I mean, all the way from Xavier to Sac State to Purdue. Like, do you plan on continuing your career in athletics? What are your plans?
That's a loaded question. You put me on the hot seat here, man.
Hey, yep. The only time I get you, man, I got to do it.
Ain't much fun when the bear get to
go. You know, in all honesty, it's like, you know, I think last year indoor was difficult. I had dealt with a few injuries that I never dealt with before. You know, up until last year, I had never missed a podium in the triple jump. Never missed a podium since freshman year of high school, man. Freshman year all the way up until last year. And so my senior year, my last indoor, it was like, it felt like everything was coming down, you know what I mean? And I was like, it was about to be over. And then it was over, you know what I mean? COVID came and our season was done. And so it gave me this period of time to really just sit back, reflect on everything going on in my life, you know. I have a lot of other things going on, you know what I mean? I'm interning for the NBA, things I mentioned on here, you know what I mean? A lot of connections I'm making to try to, you know, set myself up for after track and field. I think now it's a matter of when is the timing of when track and field is over. But I think I told myself coming into this year, you know, whatever happens, man, I have one final year of track and field, one final year of collegiate track and field anyway. And so I think I'm looking at it as like, I'm going to attack every day as if I'm trying to be a professional athlete. You know what I mean? And if at the end of the day, at the end of this season, when I'm good enough to do that, I'm going to speak it into existence. When I'm good enough to do that, my plan is to go on, hopefully get sponsored and, you know, pursue professional track and field and try to compete with some of the best in the world. You know what I mean? This year we'll hopefully have the Olympic trials and things like that. And I think I'm going to use a lot of it as a barometer for like, hey, this is where I'm at. This is where I'm at. And, you know, I want to be realistic. You know what I mean? I have great dreams and aspirations, but I want to be realistic with myself. I think I struggle with the balance of like, you know what I mean? When I'm done with this, I want to pursue it, but I know how difficult it can be. If you don't get the sponsorship, you got to get a job. You got to try to practice, you know, after work, and then you traveling on weekends, and it's really difficult. I've talked to a lot of people who have tried to do it that way, and it's really difficult when you can't fully devote yourself to it, and you've got to find a way to live. But I know I want to pursue it. I know I want to pursue it to answer your question. I danced around it like a politician, but to answer your question, man, I want to go pro. You know what I mean? I think I have what it takes to jump professionally, and it's been slow, I think, than, you know, some other people's development. But, you know, I feel like I have what it takes, and that's the plan. And that's how I've attacked every day, you know, since coming out here to Kansas, is that I'm trying to go pro. And so it's made me focus a little harder, and I think it's made me better all around.
Yeah, I just wanted to squeeze that out of you right there. That came out because I've seen it from when you was a high school kid, man. You know what I'm saying? I've been around pros. I had the opportunity being in LA, competing in college, and competing against some really good guys that were professional. I've seen it, and you've always had that in you, man. So I just wanted to squeeze that out of you while I got you. You know what I mean? Nah,
I appreciate it. And same for me. I think that was one of the biggest things is like every step along the way, I've seen people, like I've had people that were, I guess, the goal for me, right? I don't know if you remember the kid, CJ Alumbris. When I was in high school, man, he was like that dude in California. He jumped 50 feet, you know, everybody.
Yeah, I do remember. Remember. Yep.
and not to bash him or nothing, but I remember my freshman year of college, I remember seeing him at a meet, and I'm like, this was that dude, I need to get him. And I whopped him, and I was like, I remember that night we was on the bus, we was driving back from UCLA, which is the school he went to, and I remember, you know what I mean, I actually got to meet him after that and talk to him, and we became cool and everything, but it was just like, you know, that saying, work until your idols is your rivals, and not that I idolized him or nothing, but it kind of showed me that, you know, the people that I'm looking up to, I got what it takes to not only be as good as them, but be better. And so that's been important to me. And I've jumped against, you know, Omar Craddock and, you know, some of these other professionals, and I see them up close, and I'm like, I'm there. I'm right there. I got what it takes to get there. So, it's been good, man.
Yeah. But the good thing, and here's the thing, and you and I talked about it, and Paul has, I'm sure, experienced it, is that transition. That transition from being an athlete to whatever else you're going to enter into. And just making sure that, you know, you're set up for that, because that could be a challenge, that adrenaline and that preparation to go out and do something, and you look up and it's no longer there. So that's the thing that I've always made sure I try to prepare you for, because I know what it's like to prepare for something and then it's no longer you can do it, and you look up and say, what next? So the transition is just as critical as where you are right now.
You know what's funny about that, though, is, and I find this interesting because I find myself thinking about this like that. You've honestly prepared me so well for that transition that I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes when practice is tough and I don't jump well, or I'm dying in the workout, I'm like, man, listen, I can go get me an NBA job and I can be done with all this. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Sometimes it feel like I got too many options, you know, then obviously I snap back and I'm like, no, remember why you're doing this, what you want to do it for. But that's always an interesting thought sometimes. It does pop in my head like, man, you know what? I don't need this. My man has 2 jobs, you know? But you know, that's something I think about a lot, and I appreciate it. But it does feel like I have options, but I got to create that sense of desperation in my mind of like, oh, this is do or die for me. But to move on a little bit, I know we touched on you guys' influences and people that were big in your life and stuff like that. And just to give y'all a quick shout out, man, I've always found it remarkable to see young men who didn't grow up with a father become such great fathers. You know what I mean? From my dad to you, Paul, to many of the men I see around me, guys like James Lockhart, man. Major shout out to James. Y'all know James, man. He done came a long way, man. James, if you're listening, man, we're proud of you. We're glad to see you be such a great father and really just a man, you know, as he's working with the Braff youth out there in Palm Springs, man. I think it was crazy when I went home this winter break to see him doing that work. And it was like, I remember me and my dad, we were walking up and James was, you know, giving a kid a lecture about behaving. And we was like, well, that's a switch. and so I just want to talk to you guys about what has it been like. You know, I've talked to my dad about it multiple times, obviously, but Paul, what's it been like, you know, going into fatherhood and dealing with all that entails?
Yeah, no, man. I mean, dealing with you and Fasayo at 5 in the morning, I think that prepped me pretty. I mean, just dealing with y'all knuckleheads, bro. Man, that helped a lot. But to be honest, man, all jokes aside, it's a challenge. I mean, but just like anything, it's like, you know, sometimes you may not be prepared for it. There may not be a book out for it unnecessarily, but I think if your heart is open and I have a strong faith in God, and, you know, you have faith, it all kind of works itself out. And that's kind of where I'm at right now with my fatherhood. I know that I have a duty. I know God has blessed me with these children. And I'm just kind of, you know, taking every day on as if it's a new day. You know what I'm saying? And just ensuring that I'm there for them, not only just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, and the like. So it's a challenge, man. It's a welcome challenge. I love it. You get what I'm saying? But definitely having, you know, a father figure around helps a lot. So, Mr. Strange, you probably could speak on it a little bit more in depth, but it's been a challenge, but I'm welcoming it and I'm enjoying it, man.
You know, it's funny you said that. I was asked that question last night when we was at a friend's whose birthday. So it was just a couple of the guys who were there, and that question came up. It said, "Do you think that not having a father around helped or hurt you?" And I said it was a little bit of both, you know, because it helped me to really inspire to be the father that I didn't have. but it was a lot of things I had to learn on the fly that I didn't know. And so I think I could have been even much better had I been prepared and knew what fatherhood was. So for me, not having a father around inspired me and pushed me to want to be a great father and always there for my children. But that lack of male figure around, kind of hurt, because I had to learn how to be a man. I'm still at 50 learning how to be a man and learning things that I should have known or learned, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. So, it stretched out my learning curve. But overall, I'm pleased with where I'm at. And, it's just a blessing to be able to have children that I have. They've all been good children, successful in their own right. And I just love being a father. I love being a father and being able to contribute and pour into their lives. Not only my children, but just other children in general, just to be able to share with them an experience or give them something that they can take along with them that will help them and benefit them down the road. So, yeah.
I do have a question for both of y'all, though. I mean, I know I experienced, my mother was like my father for the most part. There's no disrespect to my dad. Like, my dad came back in my life later on, and, he passed away, cancer, RIP. So he came in the capacity that he could, right? Do y'all feel like it's a necessity to have a father figure in the household? I mean, my mother took on both roles, and it was very stressful for her, but I mean, she didn't do too bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm doing fine. My brothers are doing fine. My sister's doing fine. Like, do y'all feel like it's a necessity, explicitly in the Black community, to have a father figure in the household?
I would say yes. That doesn't mean you can't raise a strong, a successful young man, but it's like you're making an adaptation. So if I got a Porsche and then I put another engine in it, it ain't quite the Porsche. It'll still run, but it ain't optimal. And so to answer your question, it's possible, but I don't think it's the optimal. It don't optimize your ability to be as best, particularly if you have a sound role model that is a true father. Sometimes it can hurt having a father there that doing all the wrong things. So that can probably be as detrimental as them not being around. But I think having that figure there optimizes your ability to become a better man and a better person overall.
Yeah, I think I agree with you in that it's optimal, but I think what I've seen a lot in my life, obviously I grew up with a father. I'm very happy about that. But from the people that I've seen around me that weren't as fortunate, I think what I've seen is it works when you have what Paul had, and which is a village. You know what I mean? Like he said, he had a council of men. He had his Uncle Quint, Tony, his Uncle John in Riverside. He had all the males that, Coach Thomas, which is somebody we definitely got to give a shout out to, man. Coach Thomas, you the man. And so I think, like I said, I mean, it's not the same as having a father in the home and somebody that you build that actual relationship with. But I do think that to answer your question, it's tough to say it's not a necessity, but I would say you definitely can do very well without it if you have the other tools in place. You have the other people surrounding you to help fill those holes and fill those gaps for you. But yeah, I mean, that's coming from a kid who grew up with his dad, so I don't know for sure, but.
Your opinion matters, man. The reason why I ask is because, working at the Boys and Girls Club, I get a lot of kids, and it's like that kind of parenting is kind of being outsourced in a way. You know what I'm saying? They're looking for mentors like myself or someone like a Mr. Strange, and it's like kind of out of necessity they're outsourcing that because they don't have it at home. Right. And I'm seeing a lot of kids they're succeeding. You know what I'm saying? They have a father figure that may not necessarily be their father, and they're seeing it either as a coach or as a club director or just someone like Mr. Strange who just volunteering his time. So I wanted to know, because I see kids succeeding without a father. Not saying that I necessarily think that it's not a necessity, but I see that. Like, I see us in the community still figuring it out. We're still learning. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, and I think of sometimes the impacts that we may not be aware of, because that biological connection, I think, is real. And I think there's, like I said, not a necessity, but I think it really enhances who you are and that confidence and that ability. Because I know for a while, it was hard for me to interact with men on a level where I felt like a man. when I interacted with them. You know, I always felt like this little kid, but I started to realize, well, I'm a man as well. So just having that confidence and the ability to know that I'm a man and what a man looks like and how a man conducts himself. So that to me was where I kind of struggled, even though I had the village of people around me, is really how do I conduct myself as a man? What truly does a man do, and how does he handle himself? So.
While we on fatherhood, Paul, I gotta ask you this one, man.
Go ahead, man.
I feel like every father has done this. I ain't a father, but every father I know has. Have you left any of your kids anywhere, man?
I plead the fifth.
You're on camera now. You're on camera.
Hey, I ain't gonna cap though, man. Like mom's was gone. She was doing some shopping one day. You know, the mother was gone, and I was like, man, I'm gonna let these, because we live in an apartment right now. We live in there's like this nice green grass area up front, and at that age, you know what I mean. I'm not gonna expose their age because people are gonna be killing me in the comments. At that age, me and my little bro was going outside playing, like, you know what I'm saying. So when she left, I was like, hey, y'all go ahead and go outside, man. I ain't gonna be with y'all. Go ahead. Here's a football, here's a soccer ball. They was like, okay. When they ran out the front, they was just out there playing, like, and. Wifey came home, I guess, later on. I was at work. She sent me a text like, WTF. I was like, it done snitched on me, man. So, you know, I never left them anywhere, but I definitely let them go ahead and do their thing on their own. Like, to be honest, like, I truly believe, and I'm not trying to make this a philosophical discussion here, but I feel like as a parent, you're trying to protect them and guide them so that they can then protect themselves and then kind of continue with something. No, just we're trying to develop adults here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want them to feel like they need their mom and dad's validation and their mom and dad's eyes to do everything and anything. Mm-hmm. You know, albeit it may be a crazy way of going about it. Shout out to Stacy, my mama, but hey, I feel like I'm doing just fine. So I ain't never left them nowhere, but I definitely let them go ahead and do their own thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Nah, that's cool, man. That's
good stuff, man. Hey, that's the old school way of raising them. Come back with a couple of knots on their head. They know, nah, we're not doing that tomorrow. Hey, tell them next time, don't be snitching on you, though, man.
Hey, that's why my oldest son, he was like, hey, mom, we was outside by ourselves. I was like, oh. But yeah, man, it's all good. It's all good.
Oh, man. The last question I have for you, man, and we just want to, I think something we can all talk about and end it on. And we touched on mine a little bit, but aspirations and what we're doing now, man. I know you're out there in Texas, like I said, the director of the Boys and Girls Club out there in Austin, Texas, and you're doing your music thing now. Where do you see yourself in 5 years with your family and, you know, what you're trying to do?
Yeah, man, in 5 years, I see myself, I don't know, man. I'm like I don't know. I don't know if y'all know Imhotep. You know, he's a college path. I don't even know if I'm saying that the right way, but just had multi-passion guy. He was the first one to. Are you about to say something strange? I don't know if he's about to.
No, I was just gonna say the world's first recorded multi-genius.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm a multi-genius, but I have a lot of passions, right? So I see myself kind of diving into different passions and kind of being multifaceted in that aspect. I love music. I love social, giving back, social services and whatnot. So I see myself having my own nonprofit in some capacity. Maybe in the tech world, because that's the new frontier, and I want to make sure Black and brown kids have the technologies and know how to use the technologies to produce versus consume. So I see myself in that light, teaching youth, still producing music, working with some local artists out here. We got some songs we're about to drop. So yeah, man, I'm very open. I want to be able to be in my children's life, ensure that they're chasing after their dreams just like I am. But yeah, man, just kind of seeing what God has in store for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Good deal. Stuff.
Dad, I know you older than all of us, but you honestly are in a weird. In 5 years, Malia be getting close to leaving the nest, man. You might be an empty nester finally soon.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to traveling. And with this whole telecommuting and distance learning, that might happen sooner than I thought. So I like traveling. I like seeing different places, being in different spaces. My real passion is community economic development. going in and seeing different communities, cities, what's working, what's not working, and putting the pieces of the puzzle together to make it reach its full potential, so that the inhabitants of that community can realize their full potential and become the people that they were, came here to be. And so those are the things that really excite me, looking to, potentially make some moves in the near future. So I'm just opening up my options. My wife and I, we're discussing different things and just looking at life and say, where do we want to be? We're getting to that point where in the next 10 years or so, we'll be ready to retire. And it's like, what do we want the rest of our lives to look like? And in the meantime, what do we want to do? We don't have to wait until we're retired, but we can begin to put things in motion to create the life that we want moving forward. So I'm excited about the future in terms of just where we're going, and just being old enough and at this point having enough money to kind of do the things I want to do. It's always been either not having the money or the kids. So having that where, you kind of was, I wouldn't say handcuffed, but you couldn't move around as much as I could have if I wasn't, a father. And so wanted to make sure that they had, stability, and they weren't just bouncing around from place to place. And now that I'm at the age where, we're going to be empty nesters in a few years, we're looking forward to being able to travel and do things that we put off for a little while. So I'm excited about that.
Hey, Tia and Malia, if y'all listening, man, we just got described as the old ball and chain, it sounds like. So y'all keep that with y'all. Take that how y'all will. But nah,
they
man.
don't call y'all crumb snatchers for nothing.
Nah, man. I've talked at great length about, where I see myself in 5 years and how I'm in a period of transition, and things are going to be pretty crazy here for the next few years. Just who knows where I'll be. So if you want to hear about that, it's past episodes. But nah, man, I think this was a great conversation, man. I really enjoyed it. I think it's Paul does a good job of bridging that gap. You know what I mean? Obviously, you're my dad, and so there's that age in between, and that that middle part that I think Paul really grasped really well. And I think we could do this again for sure, man. I think we can have some more guided discussions on things that we're passionate about or that we find interesting. But no, I think this was good. Any final remarks from you guys?
Before I go, man, can you do the facade for me real quick, man? Can you just show the crowd what facade? We used to, real quick, man, after every workout, Mr. Strange, you probably know this, man, but after every workout or every training, we would do a core like a cycle. Uh-huh. You got a strong core to jump, you know what I'm saying? And one of the things we had to do was, just forgot what they call it, just work on the obliques, where you just kind of twisting your body.
Yeah.
And for Sal, man, like, he's really an agile cat. When he would twist his body, his body would just start doing things I never seen before. So I don't know if John want to give the crowd a taste of that. Shout out for Sal, man. But,
oh man. It was just loud shrieks. The dude was going through it, man. And for Sal, if you're listening, man, he was always stronger than me. He could bench more, squat more. He was, just more explosive than me. But I always had him in the core, man. I always had you in the core, man. And you can ask Coach Lewis about that. But nah, man, that's my brother, man. Shout out to him, man.
Y'all crew, man. Honestly, man, I love them days, man. But I guess my closing segment, man, is I never had no disappointments, right? I know one of the questions we was going to talk about is disappointments. My biggest disappointment, I guess, is just seeing you, Ja, almost hit a 51-footer and then fall flat in your face in some sand, man. But to be honest, man, like, it was a blessing to be a part of this, man. And the content that y'all pushing out is not only edifying for me, but I think the community in the desert, but also the nation, man. So keep it up. I'm definitely open to doing this again, and I appreciate y'all, really do.
Well, cool, man. We definitely appreciate you, and always a pleasure having a good, in-depth conversation. I always walk away learning something, going back and let me look this up, man. Paul said something. Let me check that out. It always takes me to where I can learn a little more and become a little more engaged and knowledgeable. What I would like you to do, since I know you're into music, if you have anyone listening that they're looking for a producer, some beats, how would they get in contact with you they have some aspirations to work with you.
Yeah, no doubt. You can find me on SoundCloud. That's Juga, JVGGAH with the underscore. Or you can find me on Instagram, same spelling. I'm just really into, just creating. My mission really when it comes to producing music is to just inspire, you know what I mean? So if y'all really into that, go check my SoundCloud out. I'm always open to work with somebody. And
Cool. Good stuff.
Yeah. Dad, I know we talked about Black History 365. You got a fact for us today, man?
Yeah, we going live 365, Black History all year round. The Black History fact for the day is Allenworth, California, was the first Black all township in the state of California, and it was founded in 1908. So if I understand it correctly, it was also a community that Jack Johnson, the great boxer, Black boxer, heavyweight champion, lived at sometimes. So it's a historical area that's near Bakersfield, California. So that's our Black History fact for the week, Black History 365.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out. That's not too far from the crib, man. But to end today's episode, man, I think one of the things that I've been sitting here thinking about is, it's funny because we have a chain of inspiration, and I think it's important for our audience to understand you never know who's watching. You know what I mean? My dad probably never realized that Paul was looking up to him and he was admiring him from afar. And Paul never realized when he was out there jumping 47 feet and I was at the track meets just a little kid that, I was thinking to myself, I want to do that one day. And, here we are. You know what I mean? We've all inspired each other and we've become a great group of friends and we've learned from each other. And, you know what I mean? I'm excited to see where we all end up. So you never know who's watching. Always act as if someone is and take that with you. And do with it what you will. We appreciate you guys for tuning in for today's episode. Hope you've tuned in for past episodes and future episodes as well. Y'all have a good one.
All right. Peace.
Peace.
Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you're notified every time we post a video.